Good evening, everyone. It's becoming increasingly clear that President Trump's strategies are facing major reversals just when he needs momentum the most. With economic pressures mounting, international tensions rising, and domestic controversies erupting, these developments could reshape his administration's trajectory. Let's break it down step by step, starting with the economic front. The Supreme Court's decision last week to strike down President Trump's broad tariffs has delivered a substantial hit to his trade policies. In a 6-3 ruling on February 20th, the justices, led by Chief Justice John Roberts, determined that the president overstepped his authority by imposing duties on nearly all U.S. trading partners. This wasn't just a legal technicality. It undermined a core element of his agenda aimed at protecting American industries. In response, Trump quickly announced a new 10% global tariff effective February 24th and later escalated it to 15%. But this move has sparked immediate backlash. Over 1,000 companies, including major players like Costco and FedEx, have filed lawsuits seeking refunds for payments made under the invalidated tariffs. Analysts point out that the refund process could drag on for years, creating uncertainty for businesses already grappling with supply chain disruptions. This tariff saga ties directly into broader concerns about affordability. During his State of the Union address on February 24th, President Trump declared the cost of living crisis over, attributing past inflation to his political opponents. Yet recent polls and economic data tell a different story. A New York Federal Reserve report from early February revealed that American consumers are absorbing most of the tariff costs through higher prices, contrary to claims that foreign countries would foot the bill. Voter sentiment reflects this. Surveys from outlets like ABC News and Pew Research show widespread disapproval of the tariffs, with even a significant portion of Republican supporters now linking them to persistent high costs. Independents in particular express frustration, with only about 14% trusting the president's handling of military decisions abroad, a figure that underscores eroding confidence. Economists warn that these policies, combined with structural issues like supply shortages, are keeping household budgets strained, despite some easing in overall inflation rates. Shifting to international affairs, the administration's approach to Iran appears headed toward conflict at a precarious moment. Reports indicate the largest U.S. military aircraft deployment to the Middle East since 2003, signaling potential strikes. President Trump has cited threats from Iran's nuclear program, ballistic missiles, and regional proxies, even floating regime change as an option. However, negotiations led by envoys Stephen Witkoff and Jared Kushner have stalled, with Iran rejecting U.S. terms. Critics, including think tanks like the Center for American Progress, argue there's no coherent rationale for escalation, especially since last year's strikes didn't fully dismantle Iran's capabilities. Military experts highlight risks. Limited ammunition supplies could sustain operations for only about 10 days. And without broad allied support, mainly just Israel, the U.S. might find itself isolated. This comes amid other global flashpoints like ongoing Russian actions in Ukraine and North Korea's nuclear buildup, stretching resources thin. Public trust is low here, too. The latest AP NORC poll shows just 27% of adults believe Trump will make sound decisions on foreign military force, with even Republicans at only 60% approval. Domestically, immigration enforcement is generating its own wave of complications. The president's mass deportation efforts have drawn sharp criticism following incidents like the January killings of 2 American citizens by federal officers in Minnesota. Democrats in Congress responded by blocking new funding for the Department of Homeland Security, leading to a partial government shutdown. Polls indicate public unease with the implementation, while many support deportations in principle. The focus on non-criminal detainees and reports of rights violations have fueled opposition. Federal judges across states, including Trump appointees, have issued contempt orders against Immigration and Customs Enforcement for defying court directives on detainee releases. In Minnesota, Chief Judge Patrick Schiltz has threatened criminal contempt against officials, citing over 200 violated orders in recent months. Similar rulings have emerged in Texas, New Jersey, and California, pointing to a pattern of non-compliance that's unprecedented in U.S. history. Tragically, these policies have been linked to deaths in detention, with advocacy groups reporting at least 10 such cases this year alone, echoing last year's figures exceeding 40. Adding to the administration's challenges are ongoing revelations from the Jeffrey Epstein files. Recent releases have spotlighted connections that are proving politically toxic, even within the Republican Party. For instance, photos and documents linking figures close to Trump to Epstein's activities have surfaced, prompting calls for depositions and greater transparency. The Justice Department's handling, including temporary shutdowns of search functions on related websites, has raised accusations of cover-ups. Senator Ron Wyden has highlighted a previously undisclosed DEA investigation into Epstein involving drug trafficking and money laundering, with 14 other targets redacted. This has intensified demands for full disclosure of financial records, potentially exposing broader networks. Meanwhile, the White House's social media missteps, such as posting altered images with racist undertones, like superimposing ape features on former President Obama and his wife, have drawn bipartisan condemnation. Even allies like Senator Tim Scott called it outright racist, forcing the administration into damage control without a full apology. In the realm of technology and national security, tensions with AI firms are escalating. The Defense Department has clashed with Anthropic, the company behind the Claude AI system integrated into military operations. Undersecretary of Defense Emil Michael publicly accused CEO Dario Amodei of obstructing progress amid disputes over safeguards against fully autonomous weapons and mass domestic surveillance. The administration is considering invoking the Defense Production Act to seize control or label the company a supply chain risk, moves that could set dangerous precedents for private sector involvement in defense. This friction comes as morale issues plague the military, exemplified by problems on the USS Gerald Ford aircraft carrier, where sewage system failures have led to extended deployments and low spirits among crew members. Finally, a federal grand jury's recent refusal to indict 6 Democratic lawmakers on sedition charges, stemming from their advice to military personnel against unlawful orders, marks another legal setback. This rare no-bill decision highlights the limits of prosecutorial overreach and adds to the narrative of institutional checks on executive power. Taken together, these reversals arrive at a critical juncture, with midterm elections looming and approval ratings hovering near historic lows. The president's State of the Union, the longest on record, aimed to rally support but instead amplified divisions through grievances and disputed claims. As we watch these events unfold, it's essential to stay informed and consider the long-term implications for policy and governance. What are your thoughts on how this might play out? Share in the comments below. And if you found this analysis helpful, please subscribe for more updates. Thanks for joining me.